welcome to At Home with Ivers. It's great to be back. I've missed you. It's good to have a little hiatus so we could get our ducks in a row on a couple of things, including some major initiatives that we're planning as we look towards how we're going to emerge from this and what the theater is going to look like when we come back. So we're examining every angle of audience safety, artist safety, crew safety, what our offices, how they're going to flow, what our work week looks like, and following, of course, state and local guidelines to sort of make sure that as this pandemic continues, we are in the know. I left you with the idea that we'd be returning to artists and conversations about artists that may be involved in future seasons or a part of our past. I'm really excited today that Shelley Butler, who has directed several productions, TYA and otherwise at South Coast Rep, will be joining us. We were slated to be in the middle of Arcadia right now, and she was slated to direct it before we had to cancel it. I'm a huge fan of Shelley's. She will talk about her trajectory at South Coast Rep and beyond in the interview. And before we get to that, I just wanted to give a shout out to our staff and to our board of trustees and to all of the frontline workers who continue to keep us safe and healthy, and to make sure that our supporters out there, that we continue to be grateful to you for the feedback, for the help, the support. And I feel totally lifted up by the community in which I live and the community that I have the pleasure to serve. I hope you enjoy this week's episode with Shelley Butler.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited that colleague, friend, and director Shelley Butler is with us. As I had said a couple weeks ago, I was excited to get back to having artists be central to At Home. Artists of Shelley's stature, not only at South Coast Repertory, but nationally and probably internationally. I don't know, Shelley. Maybe international right now. It looks like you're sort of in some sort of European Shelley.
It does. I keep saying it's like the Masterpiece Theater set, but actually my in-laws' house.
Oh, nice. I feel like maybe we should be speaking with different accents, but we can get to that later. I know a lot of people that are watching will know your name. Many people will know you. I know you live with your family in New York City. You've been on an epic road trip since the beginning of this, or close to the beginning of this pandemic. I remember we talked on the phone as we were talking about Arcadia, which Shelley was slated to direct for us this season, that you were thinking about hopping on a flight to Las Vegas. That I think, and you did, like, the next morning. So take it from there. So what have the last 8 weeks or whatever it is look like? Because it's pretty fabulous.
Yeah, so we were supposed to go to Vegas anywhere. My husband was directing something at Planet Hollywood, and we were supposed to fly in a couple days. My son was going on spring break, and then things started to look like they might shut down. We just didn't have very much information at that point, so we headed for Vegas, where West's rehearsals were still kicking. And just in case options closed down, we wanted to all be together.
Yeah.
So we got to Vegas and still had several days of rehearsal. And East Coast other things started to shut down, but Vegas carried the torch for a bit longer. And so then we were sort of stranded in Vegas. And again, we didn't have any understanding of what it was going to be. So we rented an RV thinking that we would maybe travel around the RV for a week, be together, be safe, and then he would get back into rehearsal and I would fly to South Coast and start Arcadia rehearsal. So we still thought that was the plan. About a week into that, it became clear that none of that was happening. And so we started to make a plan B. We're safe in the RV. We're able to certainly social distance, and besides getting gas, and picking up, we stocked the RV with food, so we didn't really have to expose ourselves to anything. So we said, well, let's drive across the country. And we landed where we are now at my father-in-law's in Georgetown, South Carolina. So that a 2-week epic, unexpected journey which was actually fantastic, and I miss it right now.
It looked amazing. I mean, I was sort of following, you know, with some jealousy on the Facebook feeds, and I thought, well, please tell me you at least sang some musical theater tunes or something, hurling down the freeway on an RV.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My kid is a Hadestown fan.
Oh
so
yeah.
There was
Great.
a lot of Hadestown on repeat. He was perplexed when we hit Oklahoma and started playing those tracks that didn't resonate with him quite the same way.
You know, I have these alerts that I've since erased because it's so depressing, where my calendar pops up with Arcadia final dress, you know what I mean? Arcadia first preview, Arcadia designer run. And I know that we share a passion for that play, and that's one of the reasons, you know, I wanted you to direct it. It felt fresh to me again in ways that it just had previous years, and you know, something about the alchemy of the science and the chemistry of love, and you know, the use of language, and it's, I think we both agreed that it's funnier than people maybe gave it a shake for that, you know. And I loved having that conversation with you, and breaking, obviously, that we have to cancel it. I'm saying it out loud. I've said it to you. You'll be back at SCR that you believe in and that we believe in, and that's going to happen as long as you want it to happen. But are you still having sort of hangover from not, you know what I mean, thinking about it? Because I know you put a lot of prep work into it.
No,
we were in the middle of audition.
Yeah, I mean, we both have had Arcadia on our wish list forever, I think.
No.
And it did feel like just the right moment where that kind of hunger and pursuit of knowledge, the want to know that makes us exist, felt really resonant and really important at this moment. It still does. You know, I guess you could have a cage match between all the Stoppard plays, but for me, Arcadia would win. And the light and the dark, the classicism and the modernity, all of the way that those things come together, it's just a feast, and such a gorgeous story, so well told. And the cast that we had put together, it's hard to walk away from that right now. But you know, and that design team as well, we got quite far along. So, you know, it's a production idea that will continue to twinkle, and I guess it gets to sort of stay on my shelf a little longer until it finds the right life. But certainly, you know, its time will come again.
I agree. I mean, I'm still interested in us doing it. I think oddly, there's moments in that play when you're researching to inform the future, literally, in ways. I kept thinking, well, this is the pandemic of 19, you know, trying to uncover the algorithm of that for now and how we deal with it. And I thought, well, you can't really go witness it because we're not allowed to do that at the moment. But, you know, it started to resonate in new ways. It's hard to let that stuff go, but, you know, my hope is we'll come back to it. I think we met first maybe at Utah Shakes. I can't remember, maybe not, but I know that.
I remember.
Yeah, is that where it was? Was it Utah Shakes?
Oh, actually introduced us at a production that you were directing.
I didn't realize until I got to South Coast Rep. I knew you directed there before, but I didn't quite realize the relationship that you had to the founders, that you had in terms of, you know, a kind of, I don't want to say quite like tutelage, you know what I mean? But I think there was some of that just in terms of, and maybe you want to talk about that earlier on in your career. I know that you've done a lot of the TYA stuff, the Brand New Kid, Wrinkle in Time, The Borrowers, right? James and the Giant Peach, Oz 2.5. Is that right? Is that Oz 2.5?
Yeah.
Right? And then,
no, that's absolutely right.
Hey, Mom, do you remember that production of like Oz 2.5 you did? Where
Hey!
went all over the screen?
Oh.
Hello.
How are you? We were just
Good.
talking about your epic camping trip. I love your shirt.
Thanks.
Dash remembers Oz 2.5.
Mhm.
What do you remember?
I remember at the end, they destroyed the witch by tap dance. Really, really strong and had like giant muscles, scared of everything.
Yes.
Tin Man, like tints
OP.
everyone.
You know what? I wish that we could destroy all bad things with tap dancing. That would be one of the greatest gifts. That's a superpower. We need to, Dash, maybe we need to write a new superhero that's That's a tap dancer. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Good plan. Yeah, that's David.
All right, cool.
Dash. Thanks for stopping in, hon.
Good to see
Okay,
you.
Subscribe
Bye.
to Pixelators.
Anytime you want to come on over, brother, you let me know. I love it. That's the gift of this moment. That is the gift of where we are right now in time. I love it.
Just giving.
Well, to make the giant leap, a transfer leap from Oz 2.5 then to the spectacular production, particularly when it comes to direction, of Doll's House Part 2, Lucas News play at South Coast Rep, which I just was like, okay, this to me was in form, function, and particularly, I thought it was a great cast and all that, which also you're partly responsible for, but just the execution was like, okay, I really want to work with this person. And will you talk a little bit about that trajectory? So from James and the Giant Peach to
Yes.
Lucas Nate's like Doll's House Part 2
Great.
world premiere.
I think it's absolutely fair to say that I grew up directorially at South Coast Rep. And I directed 6 theater for young audience pieces. I had a host of phenomenal designers that worked with me in that series, and we got a lot of resources, but it was a feast. And actually also a gym in that we got a short amount of time to tech things that were impossible. And so it honed my skills in so many ways. The way I prep for tech, the way that, and it puts me out ahead a lot of times because I kind of conditioned over a bunch of years. And then kind of simultaneously, the new play thread at South Coast was a way in for me and a way to start collaborating with a lot of artists. Catherine Trishman, who's been a longtime collaborator of mine now, we went together, not the same year, but we only first worked together because South Coast paired us. They suggested that. And we did a reading of How the World Began, which honestly led to our work together at the Denver Center and multiple plays that we have. So developed a lot of new work before Doll's House Part 2 got put on my plate. So it's like you get a lot of chances to swing, and when you really get up to bat in a serious way, you're prepped when you've had that much time to work on your craft. Certainly worked at other theaters and other places, but a lot of that nurturing, a lot of that came from just opportunity that South Coast gave to me and trust that they put on in me early, and just a real opportunity to nurture my skills and work with great artists.
I love that. I love hearing that at the institution for good reason. I'm curious about, because I think the TYA stuff is particularly potent for any director because it requires you to do a lot in a short period of time, right? And it goes back to the imagination as opposed to the budget. I always think that those things, like working in rep, are really important to sort of, like, as you say, which is a word I use a lot, get in the gymnasium and kind of go, okay, the thing to get to, and the preparation for the director becomes that much more important. And if you were to talk about the breadth of your work and look at it, where's the sweet spot for you right now, and how has it changed? I know you have a passion like I do for musicals. I know you have a classical bone, that you love to sort of feed, and I know you have a passion for new work. And obviously, you're in the TYA world, and I love. And I know, is there a place right now that's kind of vibrating more for you in the form?
I'll be really honest. For me, it ends up being what story needs to be told right now. And
Sure.
And then the form that most honors that. So I do, it's true, I have kind of ping all over the place, but the thing that's all of the stories that I get drawn towards telling have in common is a need to be told right now. There are great classics that don't call to me. I want that signaling that I love musicals because I love that heightened opportunity. I love the ways that lets me kind of extend myself directorially. Talk about my aesthetic. I would say that I'm a big fan of putting nothing on stage that it doesn't need to be there, that doesn't earn its place. Doll's House Part 2 sort of might be the iconic example of me, a play that demands that and me stretching in that direction. If you really, that's that production. I love sound design, and I'm usually in exploring that, and we stripped that all away. It did not want it. It wanted to be ideas. So I find this, I think, more and more as I mature as a director, perhaps, but that for me, that kind of stripping away, which doesn't mean there can't be great, gorgeous design ideas on stage. It just means that they're not there for bells and whistles sake. They're not there because their own story demands it.
Yeah, I love that. I know it was so exciting, and it's been exciting to sort of follow the progress course with Arcadia and to sit, with you just in terms of auditions and hear your thoughts and about the play. And I'm curious. I know I know from a lot of energy. I do too, and you have a lot of ideas, and I love that about you. And I love that you're fertile. You're tilling the soil all the time, so to speak. And that's one of the things that I really admire about you. How are you tilling now? I know you've got some things sort of in development, but it's sort of like, well, bye-bye, or what? But are you finding a path? I mean, virtual world, I don't have as much of an appetite for it as others do. I don't begrudge it, but can you talk a little bit about just your creative force right now, and how you're feeding that, or if you're mourning some of it, or both,
Great question, and I'm interested to see how that what you say about that as well, given all the energy that you have for all of the art. But it's both, certainly. We were just talking calendar reminders. We should have been running with that gorgeous cast, and I should be in day 2 of rehearsal for Cinderella at Alabama Shake. So so all of those were quite far along. Those are difficult, and also I'm just someone who is I'm kind of my best self when I'm making and when I'm in the rehearsal hall. So on the upside, both my husband and I have been super busy as freelancers for the last bunch of years, and this is the longest chunk of time we've had together. Okay, we didn't stay in one place. So that's kind of extraordinary, and trying to value that. I do have a musical that's actively targeting a fall workshop, hopefully, and then a year from this fall. And that script is very much in development. So flexing that muscle dramaturgically and doing some work with it. NYU musical theater master's students in terms of working with them on what would have been 29-hour workshops, but instead kind of dramaturgically digging in and trying to imagine. So those projects in some ways get even more of my attention would have, which is fulfilling. And then I have reached back for a couple of projects, new plays and new musicals that I had been excited about with collaborators, and they got busy, I got busy, and there were some that, okay, remember that musical that we loved and you were going to write an opening number that worked better, trying to, when I have the energy for it, throw attention and time into some of that development. In terms of, I think it's exciting, the Zoom world that people are exploring. I haven't had a hunger for it yet. I think that's tied to the morning of the things that we were supposed to be making right now. And so I haven't had that kind of yearning, but perhaps, and certainly taking a look at all the exciting things people are exploring, and maybe a little envious of the people who have the energy for that right now.
I do know. I feel a bit of that too.
So trying to channel into whatever I can, and be grateful for the family time, and imagine what's next for us, how we might need to pivot to some degree, but then also what's the story that's going to need to be told other side of this, or as we're emerging.
Yes.
And I don't have an answer for that, but I'm hungry to ask that question.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm going through some of the same stuff. It's very interesting. I'm trying to convince myself that I don't have to be paddle 24/7. That I really shouldn't be, because I don't know what I'm speeding toward.
Yeah.
Whereas before I might have had some idea about what I'm speeding toward, or what I'm at least even slowly driving toward. I don't know what that is right now, So it's a very, very interesting, not only the hours, but the weeks and the days. There's times when I've stopped in the middle of a play that I might even be enjoying as a new play, because I've gotten to a place where I'm like, I don't want to read this. I have no context by which I can even think about doing it. So I'm going to let it stack up, until there's a time I can be voracious about, digesting it for the possibility. And then there's times where I feel like, hey, good day today. We're going to get some stuff solved. I'm going to sneak into the office and put up some new whiteboards for when we have ideas. So yeah, it's very interesting that way this time. I'm also grateful for the family time. No sourdough startups or anything. Are you baking or
I don't
anything?
have those skills. I have a little baking.
Well, I do want to reinforce how grilling and when it's right for you. I want you to be back. We'll look at all the possibilities that I know will be ahead of us. And when you are back at South Coast Rep, I want to make sure, I know that there's a lot of our audiences who know you, certainly in the building, who love you, but I would love to make sure to find times that we can celebrate you out to the community a bit more, for you to meet people and to be visible to our community, because I do think you're one of the great sort of American theater directors, and I really appreciate you spending the time
Well,
today.
I'm grateful to you for taking the time. I will jump at that offer.
Good.
I love South Coast Rep. I love the audiences, and it's special to have kind of found your craft and honed it in a certain place. And I feel like the work you all have done in terms of cultivating that audience and their appetite to be challenged, and all of that is essential, and just the kind of place I want to keep making work.
Good. And the weather's not bad, so All right. Well, listen. Be safe. Give my best to the family, and I hope you make it through this thunderstorm.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll talk soon. Okay.
She's fantastic. I hope it wasn't too glitchy with the rainstorm that she was in the middle of there in South Carolina. Please reach out. Let us know, again, if there's things you're interested in knowing about South Coast Repertory, how we do certain things. Open to any questions. You can email me directly, ivers@scr.org, and know that we're doing all we can to make sure that we have some announcements soon, perhaps as early as the early summer, to kind of give some directional guidance about where we're heading and when we think we'll be able to come back and serve. I remain really, really grateful to be part of the community here, and I'm open to your feedback. Have a safe and healthy week. We'll see you soon.